Good morning, everyone. It's Saturday, which means it's time for yet another Salty Saturday morning. I'm your host, Mr. Kadish. Get it right. And joining me today is our fantastic panel of nerds, starting with Matt Vader 74. How you feeling today, buddy?
Feeling much better than last week, so that's good, I guess. Still can't feel half my arm, but whatever.
Look at all these beardos.
I'm gonna push through. It's yes, it's another episode of 6 white guys with beards. So
6 white guys with beards.
Yeah, that's the name of our cover band.
That's right.
And forget Rush Limbaugh. He's the voice of the new America, Brian from the Popcast.
That's right.
Man who
he
goes
will
full
eat your
politics.
ass, I've heard. So.
Wow.
The turn of the fucking frogs day.
How you doing, Brian?
Not bad, man. Oh, actually, it's been a pretty rough week, to be honest. But it's not my fault. No, I'm not.
Why has it been a rough week?
No, just the news has been infuriating me. I've been rage-filled the last 2.5 days.
Brian, just put Shane 3 in charge and go on vacation.
He's upset Barbie didn't get nominated.
I fucking consider it. The fact that we covered that on Wednesday also upset me. I'm like, why are we talking about Barbie? Shit.
That's why you're upset because they didn't win. They get the nomination.
Yeah. Margot Robbie deserved.
She was Margot Robbie.
Well, you are our queer representation. Remember?
That's right. I like pink and big lips.
That is right. Did you guys see that Babylon Bee post about how the Academy made it right by nominating Ryan Gosling for Best Actress?
That's great.
That's good though.
I think it's hilarious, by the way, that Ryan Gosling was not. The whole thing is really funny. Again, Ken wins. So
again, yeah, Ken wins.
The boys stay winning.
Yes,
boys keep winning.
Speaking of winning, it's the king of the pineapple pizza, the Lord of the Shelves himself, Odin. What happened to your beard, Odin?
It's still here. What are you talking about? What's happening?
He's trying to copy me.
You sheared a couple inches off that sucker.
Oh my goodness! You realize that it's probably been about a month since the beard trim that you are now referring to? Just
sounds like a girlfriend right now who's.
That means he's a month away from being gay, Odin. See, it took him a month to notice.
Oh gosh! Also, it took him a month to care about me, I guess, is also the other part of that. But anyway, with all that nonsense, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm excited. Just got confirmation that I'm able to go down to Orlando next week for the Geeks Gamers and Friday Night Tights meetup. So very excited for that. And my annual Raven Awards Oscars boycott show is live. You can vote now. OMBReviews.com.
Yes, which is much better than the actual Oscar awards.
Agreed.
Much more accurate. How's your best friend Vivek doing?
Oh, still haven't talked to him. won't return my calls, but
still doesn't know who I am. Yeah, okay.
I love you, Vivek. Call me.
We were in boxes next to each other on a YouTube show one time.
We were on a stream with 6 other people for 5 minutes.
5 glorious minutes, indeed. And no longer the talking nipple, we have Tom Connors Jr. from Midnight's Edge. How you doing, buddy?
I bop on from times. When was I a nipple?
Whenever you turn your camera off, you turn into a nipple.
My face ain't there?
Nipple Tom, yep.
There it is.
You mean you don't see my face?
No.
My face is in there, not a nipple. What the hell?
He's just being mean to all of us today.
He is. I think he woke up on the wrong side of the bed.
He's a bully and he's mean.
Yes, you guys don't have to live with Jude, so this is my outlet.
Oh, take it out on us, dude. That's how you lose friends quick.
Well, hey, you're all bearded white guys, so I guess I'm in the right. I can do it without any repercussions. Is that how that works? And speaking of bearded white guys, our special guest returning once again for more abuse is Brett Dasovic. How you doing?
Dasovic.
Dasovic.
By the way, guys, and speaking of which, when Matt does his intro, he says, Mr. Kadish, get it right. I don't care if you get it right. I corrected you there, but for the most part, I don't really care if you get my name right. Dasovic,
one day,
one
day I will. I am committed to one day getting it right. I'm the destroyer of names. I get names wrong all the time, but yours, I am dedicated to.
It's racist.
One day getting it right.
It's racist for you to get it wrong. That's what they tell me.
But that's why we have Brian on the show.
I didn't realize that covered that part of it too.
Oh, it covers everything.
I thought that was just the alphabet community that covered. Oh well.
Covers everything. So how are things over at Pop Culture Crisis?
Good. We're working our way to 100,000 subscribers. We had a really good episode with Siaka Massaquoi, who's he was in Lady Ballers. He's done a lot of stuff. He was one of the people who was arrested just after the Lady Ballers premiere because he was at January 6th, and we got to talk to him about what happened with that and his whole process of him basically getting detained, arrested, and then having to go through court, to get his bail and everything. And the story is absolutely incredible. So yeah, it's been good over there right now.
That is absolutely crazy. Nice. And I understand. When is your rap single dropping, Brett?
Oh yeah, first of all, we reacted to Ben's thing yesterday, which was fantastic. But little do they know, I'm from the suburbs. I'm a white guy from the suburbs, so I essentially grew up listening to rap music. So I could I could talk rap music all day long with people if they wanted to do that. I don't need Ben Shapiro to do it.
So is Tim Pool mandating that everyone over at the Cast will have like a Civil War go bag ready to go?
I've got my rations and everything prepared when Civil War actually comes. It's gonna be great.
What kind of American are you?
Yeah, exactly.
I've been trying to tell my wife, we need to get prepared, and she's all like, "For what? Don't be dumb. This is stupid." And then I tell her, I go, "Do I need to show you the pictures from 3 years ago when there was no food on the grocery store aisles?"
Yeah.
I have these pictures still, and she's like,
I feel like I'm
don't
in
you remember when nobody had toilet paper?
I know, toilet paper.
I feel like I'm in a safe state. I have like buffer zones around me in Tennessee, so I feel like if anything does happen, I'm gonna be safe for a little while.
Yeah.
I don't know.
You're the only 10 I see, Odin.
That deserves a heart right there. Thank you.
And speaking of hearts, let's go over to the chat real quick. We got Cheery Kane in the chat. Dr. Kocho Dragon, fresh from medical school. Got Murder Boner. Hello, Murder Boner. Good to see you.
Hi, Murder Boner.
Yep.
That's a
we
great
got
name.
Kaladin 910. We got Wendy Hunter and Anthony Mark. Danny's mom, Penny, is in the chat as always. Good to see you, Penny. We got the Astro Nerd Boy. We got Gary Banjo Sandwich Worthington in the chat as well. Rec Films Montana. Trivia Queen Anima Confusa is in the chat. Good to see you, Anima. We got Big Dave. We got Gavin Blackburn,
Dave's
Super
not
Sticker
here.
King. Dave's not here. Quantum Cat 76 is in the chat. We got Regis Red and a bunch of other people. Thank you all for being here. And we got a couple.
I saw Murder Bono at work last night at the AVN Awards. So,
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, the Porn Industry Awards are taking place here in Vegas, and Matt Vader has a front row seat. So all the shenanigans
You didn't
going on.
invite me.
it's at my casino, and it's a freak show. That's all I can say. It's
Like
ridiculous. A week long freak show.
We need some exorcists
crazy.
over their stats.
We do. We need a lot of bleach.
Father Christopher Miller
Yeah.
needs to make his way over there, and with holy water and anything he can.
Tell him to
bring.
come like 3 days after.
Yeah.
We're not at all.
Before, during, and after, just like throwing holy water,
Gotta
blessed
exorcise
salt.
I'll
the
save something for
demons.
confession.
Yes.
That's actually the plot to the new Exorcist movie. That's coming out.
Oh Lord.
There's another one coming.
Well, they're actually
Odin,
they got to
did you
make one.
see-
Of them.
Odin, did you see like the Pope's Exorcist?
I did not.
I didn't either, but like from what everyone's told me, it was one of the worst things they've ever seen.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's not
Yeah.
good.
I only ever had interest in it because of the fact that Russell Crowe did an interview with a Critical Drinker. And
Okay.
I thought that was just so cool. And I was like, oh, I kind of want to see it now. But everything I see for the trailers, I'm like, oh, this just seems like the typical Hollywood nonsense stuff. Nefarious, however, was phenomenal and actually is more accurate to what most exorcists report as far as their experience
Well,
is concerned.
Ironically, the Pope's Exorcist is based on a true story, an actual person.
So
And
is the
I-
actual Exorcist too, but doesn't
I
mean
didn't-
that the Hollywood version of it is going to be accurate.
Yeah, I actually didn't think it was that bad of a movie personally, but that's just me.
Mhm.
All right, guys, let's get to some member chats real quick. We got the Astro Nerd Boy, one of our salty superstars from 2023, member for 10 months. Thank you for all your membership stuff, Astro Nerd Boy. Really
Yes.
appreciate that. Now that I'm in my new digs, hopefully I can start attending the live streams. Well, we love to have
That's
you in
awesome.
the chat, Astro Nerd Boy.
I'm
That's
glad he's getting things settled down. That's really awesome.
Yeah. And we got Big Dave for 099. Thank you,
Big Dave.
Appreciate that. And a great super sticker from Gavin Blackburn for £1.49. See how I did that, guys?
That's really good.
I never know the other currencies,
Yeah.
man. ever.
I know, right?
By the way, it was a salt shaker was the sticker he sent. I like to add in those extra details, you know.
We
One
got Shane H.
gold.
Wilder for $4.99. Sup, you nerds? Shout out to my boy Brett. Also, nothing on the shelves. Pepperidge Farms remembers.
There was nothing on the shelves for quite a while, and there was no toilet paper and no nothing.
It's true.
Well, we have the Lord of the Shelves.
I say my shelves were collapsed at one point because of Hollywood collapsing. It was awful.
And we also have Shane H. Wilder for $4.99. The Pope's Exorcist is completely inaccurate. It sucked. All
There's
right,
also going to be a Martin Scorsese movie about Jesus coming out, apparently, which we were
Starring,
mentioning yesterday.
Yeah, it's actually starring what's her name?
The Lady Jesus one.
That was
thought
just a
that was
rumor,
Jesus.
though.
No, Mary said that's fake news. That the Lady Jesus part was fake news. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, we
That's
love
fake
news. on the
news.
program.
It's probably the sequel to the last
gonna keep
Temptation
reporting
of
it.
Christ. It's another Temptation of Christ.
Which I've heard is also blasphemous, from what people have
That's a
told me.
good movie, though.
Yeah, it's going to be called G's Arena. So it'll be all about girl power.
Oh my god.
Because women need to believe in God too, guys. I don't know if you know this.
Well,
And
the
I wanna
women
give
need
a-
their own God. That's what you don't understand.
And we got to give a huge shout out to Scotty Dub for $99.99.
Wow.
Which gets him as one of our top donators for 2024. So his name will be on the live stream as it used to be in 2023. Next episode. I love it when my two favorite pop culture worlds come together. Pop culture crisis plus salty nerds equals damn perfection.
Let's
All we
go.
need now is Brian from the Whatever podcast, and it's bliss. Also, Forbes, the 2024 gauntlet is thrown, and let's put up some epic numbers, man. Ooh.
Calling these guys out.
Yeah, he
That's
called
funny.
out Forbes, man.
You know, I'm pretty cool too, Scotty. You know, like this other guy here, he's not the only one who does music and stuff.
Yeah. Tom's cool too.
Yeah.
I really like your
Fact.
radio station.
Plus,
Tom.
he's got a lot of chicks.
Yes. Well, Midnight's Edge is like the cherry on top of the delicious
Yeah.
Sunday pop
That's
culture
right.
crisis. Salty nerds.
I actually wrote a song about our more recent developments in life. You want to hear
Oh,
it?
yeah? Yeah, let's hear it.
Well, I wish I could buy a boat and sail along the coast. Fuck 3 bitches at once and eat a lot of beef roast. But now I'll be lucky if I can afford my rent. 'Cause Tatiana told us all to get bent. And I won't be able to feed my cat. 'Cause now, She-Hulk won't be back. No, it won't be back.
Oh,
Well, I'll really miss all the good times on the show. Can't really remember any, but I'm sure there's a few, you know. Now Tatiana can't find any work. I bet she's rethinking that work. Oh, and thinking Kevin Feige is such a jerk. Oh, he's just a big old jerk. 'Cause She-Hulk won't be back. No, it won't be back. And that's a fact.
that was
That's
awesome.
something I'm working on.
That puts Ben Shapiro to shame.
It does. Sadly, I'm so slow. It took till the second verse to realize that Tatiana was not just a random woman, but the lead actress for the show. I was like, who the hell is Tatiana? And why are her feelings on She-Hulk so damn strong?
I think it is kind of funny that Odin was the only one that was able to find an actual lighter to put up.
Which is funniest because I use it to when I make rosaries to
Oh.
stop the frayed edges. So
It's like Odin's in his man cave lighting up blunts when his wife isn't around.
yeah, the straight edge guy just magically just
Yeah,
Indeed.
it's
Odin's
a
savage
it's a
behind the scenes.
survival item. It's a survival item.
Yes.
Everybody should have a lighter in their pack. That's right.
so you
Well,
need it
guys-
to be able to take care of
Civil
the
War.
edges when you
Yeah.
cut rosaries for when they can
Well,
make it out of rosaries.
Hey guys, speaking of lighters, let's talk about
boy.
how Doug Lyman just took a torch to Amazon in this
come
open
on,
letter on
torch to
Deadline.
Amazon.
Dude, do you know like how rare it is to have like a major Hollywood director come out against a studio that is like financing his movie?
That's rare.
Technically, MGM financed his movie and then was bought by Amazon after the fact, right?
No, it affects future projects. So basically, there's this great article in Deadline. Also, guys, by the way, all links to the articles that we have in the show are in the description if you want to read them for yourselves. But this was one of the most scathing letters I think I've ever read from an industry professional directed at a major studio. This thing was crazy, but basically Doug Lyman, who has directed, he started off with Swingers, and he's gone on to direct like, big movies like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that Tom Cruise movie that keeps changing the title, Live, Die,
Is he
Repeat.
involved in the Mr. and Mrs. Smith that's out now?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think basically Amazon
As a
bought
producer, maybe?
the rights to that when they got into
So
them.
Doug Lyman is upset that his advertisement for MMA is now an advertisement for Amazon.
Well, let me give a breakdown real quick for everyone who's not familiar with this. So basically, his new movie, Doug Lyman's new movie, which is the remake of the Swayze classic Roadhouse, starring Jake Gyllenhaal, is getting ready to drop in a few months, and it was going to premiere at the South by Southwest Film Festival. And Doug Lyman basically said, "I'm boycotting appearing at the South by Southwest Film Festival because Amazon doesn't care about theatrical releases." And this letter is basically just him taking Amazon to task about, taking his movie, which was meant to have a theatrical release, and making it a streaming exclusive. And this isn't anything new for streamers. Like they take movies that have a lot of interest in them, make them exclusive to try to get people to sign up for them. But Lyman was like, dude, like you're shortchanging the people who made this movie, you're shortchanging theater owners, you're shortchanging the audience because you're refusing to basically support theaters like you said that you were going to. And Amazon has also kind of like done stuff in the past, like with that movie Air, starring Matt Damon. Like they put it out into a limited theatrical run and then made it exclusive to their platforms. Like they've done stuff like this before.
Was that Amazon?
That was Amazon. Yeah.
Okay. I thought that was
them.
Apple. I thought that was Apple TV for some reason.
No, Apple TV did Flowers of the Killer Moon.
And Tetris, which they didn't release at all in theaters, and I think was a big mistake.
Big mistake for sure.
Yeah, Tetris was a very good movie.
Great film.
Really good movie.
But Doug Lyman basically just ended his deals with Amazon with this open letter because I don't think anyone at Amazon is actually going to want to work with him again. But as Brett pointed out, like this was a movie that was made by MGM before they got acquired by Amazon. But he also called out the fact that Amazon is basically taking all these MGM properties and mismanaging them into the ground, which I thought
they did make that James Bond reality show.
You mean they're doing worse than MGM already was?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Indeed.
maintain that MGM Plus is the most pointless streaming service ever created. It's I just fold it all into Amazon. Just put all of the library on Amazon.
So I want to throw this to Brian from the podcast first of all, because he's got a stake in how Amazon is, managing these MGM properties with Stargate and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, I do.
So Brian, what's your take on Doug Lyman basically telling Amazon to go fuck themselves?
Nah, yeah, I think the movie should have been released in theater. I think it's awesome that he's speaking up against it, but ultimately, like it's there. It's theirs. They bought it. They could put whatever they want. The people complaining about it though reminds me of like some of you guys here have had spouses or girlfriends, right? I'm sure most of the chat, or at least a portion of the chat. You ever do that thing where you're mad about something or annoyed and you're like, hey, why did you do this? And they flip it on you, and they flip it the other way and they get mad that you're mad. I had that same result. Feeling on X when I'm reading all these comments of people mad that he's mad that the movie he made is not going theatrical. Like, why are you upset that this guy's upset? If it doesn't matter to you, then don't pay attention. But he does have a point. The movie would have been it would 100% do better if it's a good movie, if it had theatrical release. It's Jake Gyllenhaal, it's Roadhouse, makes a lot of sense. It's okay for the guy that made the movie to be upset that his movie's not getting a theatrical release, but ultimately, it's their decision. They own it.
What planet did I wake up on lately where we're all okay with remakes?
I am absolutely not okay.
This movie
I'm not
doesn't
okay.
They took Sam Elliott's character and turned him into a black woman.
I'm not saying I'm okay with the remake. I'm saying,
In fact, I think they're doing Doug Lyman a favor by putting it on Amazon and not in
the
theaters.
business
probably.
of the movie, Tom. It is a Roadhouse remake with Jake Gyllenhaal. There's big
that
names
nobody
here.
asked for.
Yeah.
Well, most movies.
I have always wondered.
Most
Conor
movies no
McGregor
one
could
asked
act
for,
or
but we
not.
still get them. I'm just saying, business wise, it's a remake of Roadhouse with Jake Gyllenhaal and Doug Lyman. Why not theatrical release this thing? I don't understand why
Actually,
not.
I think I saw a comment that I think is the perfect explanation. It says, where are most movie theaters these days? Malls. Where does Amazon not want you going? Malls. Because they want you buying everything from them on Amazon. Better to keep you on their app and on things that are made by Amazon to keep you buying Amazon properties than to send you to a mall where you could be buying things that you might eventually end up being able to buy over on Amazon. And I think this is going to be the consequence of we're going to probably be in a world where everything is owned by Apple and Amazon, because it won't be production companies that own everything. It's going to be the tech companies that have all of their profit and all of their money made on streams of revenue outside of Hollywood, because Hollywood has shown that they don't actually care about making a return on investment with most of the stuff that they make. And
That's
I think a lot of it,
they already gatekeep everything, bro.
yeah, but I think a lot of it is also, it's like, to me, I don't like, if he had wrote this letter and not boycotted, it might have been taken differently by those people. Because then it's like you're hurting your movie, you're hurting your people, how they're going to perceive your faith in your movie by not going to these premieres, and that's their territory. They're the ones who love premieres. They're the ones who love going to these galas and these events. But it just looks like you're trying to hurt your own property, something that you spent a lot of time on, over vanity, for reasons that are purely vanity, right? Like if he had just written the letter and then gone about his promotion, could he have not gone farther and continued to push for a continued return to theaters by going to these events and talking about that?
Yep. He basically turned down getting a giant microphone and blowhorn so that he could actually tell everyone, hey, yeah, by the way, this movie's great. And Amazon decided to not put this in theaters and decided instead to put it behind the paywall and to, again, basically get his whole crusade out there, because that would have actually been probably getting even more attention, or as much attention at the very least.
Maybe he's just tired. Maybe he just doesn't want to go.
Yeah.
Maybe. Who wants to go to Texas with all those migrants down there? But Odin, I want to throw this to you. So, like, what do you think are the implications of this, not just for Doug Lyman's career, but also for Amazon being called out so publicly for basically shunting their promise to theaters?
Honestly, I don't think it's going to do much, because I feel like this is just kind of the nature of things these days. Like we've heard of some of the worst bad blood being brought up to the surface, especially even during COVID. I remember there was the lawsuits between, for instance, the whole Black Widow movie, and obviously that kind of was probably a precursor to the eventual strike from the actors, right? Between the different parties involved. So sometimes this happens, but also ultimately sometimes it just doesn't really get anywhere. It doesn't really do much of anything. And so, to kind of fight and push back a little bit about Brian's point about just put it in theaters, because why not? That's where the money is. Well, the reason why is because then you are pushing, I guess, you're spending more on marketing materials to try to get the film being promoted. So that increases your cost. And then also, too, there's no guarantee that people are actually going to see your film. Need I remind you of the Point Break remake that nobody saw? So I just because it's Roadhouse.
Point Break remake?
Yes, there was. So
2018.
And so just because you happen to have a property that's a remake, because the other thing, too, is if we go back to Roadhouse, I'm sorry, original Roadhouse, great film, not a film that is, I think, a huge fan base. I think that's more of like a cult classic territory type fan base, right? So it's a great film for anyone who's seen it. It's a lot of fun, but that's not a property that everyone's like, oh man, are you going to go see that Roadhouse remake, man? I cannot wait. Yeah, right. That's just not something that's going to happen.
Escape from New York, maybe.
Yep. Well, I'm waiting for them to remake To Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar.
Yes, absolutely.
I wish they I wish they would leave Patrick Swayze movies alone. I really do.
Yeah,
I'm
leave
getting
Patrick
tired of this.
Swayze alone. Leave
Except
him
we
alone.
already got 2 remakes
Ghost.
of them that didn't do well anyway.
All right, guys. Though, but you know, all that aside, so I did watch the trailer for the upcoming Roadhouse remake. I actually kind of liked it. I thought it looked like a lot of fun. But I know someone who didn't like it, Tom Connors Jr. Tom, what's your take on this?
Why do we have this thing? I mean, we already know that. Like I said, Doug Liman's probably having a favor done for him here. This movie was nothing but an advertisement for the MMA, and he's trying to act like it's fucking Citizen Kane or something.
It's a UFC advertisement, right? This is
That's
Conor
exactly it.
Conor McGregor's big movie debut.
Yeah, acting debut. Yep.
And it looked great.
In fact, I found it kind of interesting that in the article itself, he talked about how moving this straight to streaming robbed Jake Gyllenhaal of a possible Oscar nomination. I was like,
Oh
dude.
God, in what universe?
Yeah, exactly.
And Patrick Swayze's wife came out and mentioned this. She said, like, look, this was a guilty pleasure movie. This was never an Oscar contender. What the hell are you talking about?
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and
Well,
there's enough
apparently-
original stuff in here that had they just taken the original stuff and made it a completely different movie, it probably would have been fine. Because I agree with you. There's a few moments in the trailer that are kind of fun, but you also have this problem where it kind of reminds me of the Child's Play remake. The problem with the Child's Play remake is every time it tried to remind you that it's a Child's Play remake, there's enough original stuff in there that are like, why don't they just take this original stuff and make their own movie? Well, somebody did, and it was called Megan, and it did 10 times better than Child's Play did. So here you have another situation where make a movie like Roadhouse, but it's a totally different thing, and it's about an MMA fighter and all this other stuff. There's no MMA shit in the original one. Does it have to be a Roadhouse? Can it be something else? I'm sure
Call
it
it the
can
Highway
be.
House.
Well, it can be anything. You know, there's bars, there's all kinds of other places, there's dance clubs, there's
They could have called
mean-
it the Bouncer. Yeah.
Road Bar.
yeah, you could
They-
call
they-
it the Bouncer.
They
The
should have made it.
Bouncer sounds like a Guy Ritchie movie. I like it.
They should have made it here in Las Vegas, where UFC is headquarters, and there's strip bars and clubs and
Exactly.
things everywhere. It's crazy.
Well, he
you
could
know?
be a
It's the
bouncer at a
perfect
lot of
setting.
different places. Like you said,
Yeah.
just make it about being a bouncer, right? And most guys will get it. They'll be like, oh, yeah, it's kind of like an homage to Roadhouse.
Sure.
But then we wouldn't have a problem with it.
But I feel like there were like MGM executives who were like, we need to shit on the legacy of Patrick Swayze. We got this Roadhouse property. Let's do it. And so Matt Bader
MGM's been
74.
doing this for the last decade or so.
Yeah.
They've done nothing but remake what little properties they have. That's why we got the RoboCop remake. That's why we got all those other remakes of the few things that they do have.
There's
They
Except
haven't
for
been able
Judge,
to get
except for
Stargate off the
Dread,
ground.
except for Dread.
They don't
which is
own
actually
Dread.
good.
They don't
Yeah.
own Dread. So
No, I'm just saying. Like, oh, I thought you were talking Hollywood in general.
no.
Dread is-
I'm talking about MGM themselves because
Yeah.
MGM has barely been a studio for about 40 years now. Like they have been bought and sold more times than any other studio in history. Ted Turner owns more of their catalog than they do, or he did back in the day. Now Warner Brothers owns it all since they bought it, squeezed out Ted. So like basically MGM doesn't even have the movies in their catalog that are considered, their big hits, like Gone with the Wind, Wizard of Oz. Warner Brothers owns those. They don't. They own all the Bond movies, but there's just the distribution to the Bond movies. They got the Rocky movies and anything that was under United Artists, but that's not much. They got like Rocky, RoboCop, Stargate, Roadhouse, just a few movies that were popular that they can keep remaking over and over again, and that's about it.
That's very true. Matt Bader 74.
Red Dawn,
why
I think,
can't-
was the other
why
one too
can't-
they own.
Why can't Hollywood leave Patrick Swayze alone?
I don't know. I mean, the dude did nothing but make good movies, right?
Point
So,
Break is actually one of those examples of like one of those early, at least for me, one of those really good early examples of stealing all of the heart out of something that had just such a unique
Yeah.
feel to it, right? Like once you saw that trailer for the Point Break remake, you're like, wow, everything that made the original special is gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Please don't put that me on the giant screen. I hate that. It's just I don't know, man. Patrick Swayze made fun, cool movies that everybody liked back then. I mean, everybody's got a copy of Roadhouse, and everybody's got a copy of Dirty Dancing, and everybody's got a copy of Point Break somewhere in their collection that they kind of like to pull out and watch on a rainy Sunday afternoon or something. It's just like, okay, it's time for a little Roadhouse action. So yeah, and I just don't. I feel like Hollywood or whoever makes these movies, they're just creatively bankrupt. And like Tom said, they're just trying to put these things together for an easy an easy paycheck, right, or an easy way to sell toasters. And it's just it's sad to me. You know, when they take these old popular movies and just kind of shit on them, it's no fun. And as far as the theater thing goes, I kind of understand. I'm kind of with Brian on this one. If you're going to make a movie, put it in the theater at least for a while so people can see it the way that they're intentionally supposed to be made. Because I mean, I think that's kind of what he's really more upset about, right? Is he made this for a big screen, not for a little screen. And then Amazon came back on him and said, nope, we're just gonna, we're gonna put ads in front of it and sell it on the app. So I mean, why would a big time Hollywood director want to make a movie like that? It's just like making a TV show with a bigger budget, and that's no fun. So yeah, I don't know, and I don't know why they're shitting on Patrick Swayze. He just because his movies are fun to remake, I guess. I don't know, man, but I wish they would quit. So
yeah, I'm waiting for the Next of Kin remake personally.
Oh God.
Anyway, guys, let's get to some.
Or Tu Wong Fu. That would be a good one.
Yeah.
Let's get to some super chat. Shorty Short for 199. Odin make fire. Flame emoji. Very good stuff. Then we got Scotty Dub for $9.99. And here's a bonus 10 spot in honor of Midnight's Edge. You guys always produce some great and informative clips. Plus, I wouldn't have found the Salty Nerds without you in the first place. Yes, nice. We love our brethren.
Oh, wow. Thank you, Scotty Dub.
Yes. And Eric Winberg.
I would just mess with you, but yeah.
Gifted 1 Salty Nerd podcast membership. Thank you so much for gifting that membership. By the way, guys, trying to get 10 new memberships during the course of the live stream. If we can hit that goal, we'll be very happy campers. And we got David Nelson for $199. Hail the Texas Trucker Convoy and the 199. Yes.
What is this? I don't know what this Texas Trucker Convoy is. Is the rubber duck in front?
It's kind of like the Canadian convoy, but in Texas.
When did this start? I have not heard anything about this.
I think it was yesterday or 2 days ago, something like that. It's basically a bunch of truckers.
They're gonna make a wall. Gonna make a wall with the trucks across the whole border.
Driving down to the border, make a wall.
Let's go.
Build a wall, people. All right, guys. So we talked a little bit about Amazon. Now let's talk about Netflix, which just closed this huge deal for the WWE. And this is actually pretty major. I know that a lot of people kind of scoff at this.
I heard the WWE was a pretty shitty place to work.
Really shitty place to work, dude. Yeah. Just bad.
Shitty place to work, but a lot of people seem to like watching it. So Netflix just spent $5 billion on 10 years of WWE Raw. And to put this into context, NBC Universal was paying like $1.3 billion for 5 years. And so this is like a huge thing. But this is also a big shift for Netflix because WWE Raw is going to be their first foray into live sports. And so people can show up on Mondays and watch Raw live as it's happening on Netflix. And so like the streamer is basically taking a big kind of like weird direction with this thing. But it is it is actually a pretty big deal because Netflix, they basically won the streaming wars, right? And what we have here is a situation where Netflix is kind of like taking a victory lap by cornering one of the biggest entertainment franchises currently. And the interesting thing about WWE that a lot of people don't know is that they have been really, really spearheading a lot of their like YouTube and TikTok and social media stuff. They have like hundreds of millions of followers on.
Yeah, their YouTube is really successful.
Yeah, and they take it about as seriously as Mr. Beast takes his channel. Like they have all types of like AI analyzing like what characters people are talking about and what events are coming up. And it also this is kind of interesting. So Netflix also has the international rights to big events like WrestleMania. And like that's like the big thing. But internationally now people are going to be able to watch these huge WWE events. So Vader, I know that you are a big WWE fan. What's your take on this acquisition?
I think it's huge. I mean, it's like I said, it gives the rights to WrestleMania internationally. I think it has to do with something to do with I'm curious how it goes with the Peacock deal too, because you can get all the WWE content and all the pay-per-views on Peacock network on the app as well. I think Royal Rumble's like tomorrow or something or next weekend, but it's a crazy crazy thing. I mean, I've been watching WWE off and on since I was a little kid, since the Hulk Hogan, Junkyard Dog, Roddy Piper days, and I didn't even think it would be around now that I'm in my 50s. It's wild how long. Well, I guess Vince isn't running things anymore, but it's wild how long he kept this stuff going. And speaking of Vince, I'm really curious if how this him and Johnny Ace's kinks came out like 2 days after this deal got announced. Right? It seems the timing seems very strange to me.
The worst timing ever for Netflix and for TKO right now.
Yeah, for sure.
Vader, the interesting thing here is that this deal goes into effect at the beginning of 2025,
right?
And everything that's on Peacock will and be on Netflix, essentially.
Yeah.
But I want to throw this to you, Brett. What's your take? Do you think that this was a good move for Netflix?
Yeah, it's really interesting because like a lot of people forget WWE was one of the first companies to really invest in a streaming service as well, because they had the WWE Network long before a lot of these other streaming services had got going. True. And there was all types of problems early on with playback and with buffer and all of that stuff. So they invested, and I think look, we can it's very easy to want to make the jokes right now about what's going on with Vince and as depraved as all of that shit is. But he invested his company as forward thinking and trying to stay on top of how they.
We lost him.
They got him. The WWE got him.
As he was
shit on his face.
The ghost of Vince.
Big WWE.
As he was talking about streaming and buffering and all that stuff, got frozen up.
So good.
All right, I'm going to throw this to Brian. Brian, what's your take on this? Because like in terms of sports entertainment and like live entertainment, Netflix just gave tens of millions of people a reason to tune in on a specific day at a specific time on Netflix. Do you think that's going to have an impact on how we consume content on that streamer?
Yeah, that's pretty unique actually for Netflix. Pretty going outside their comfort zone. Other streamers have attempted the live content before. They're still doing it, but I say attempted because most people don't really give a shit unless it's like something big like the Super Bowl or whatever. But Netflix has always sort of stuck to their own model. Outside of implementing like mobile games that no one plays, this is actually a pretty big move for them. And I think it's going to be good for. I don't really care about WWE. Sorry, Vader. I'm not really a huge fan.
No, whatever.
But I know a lot of people do. I know a lot of people really care about it. A lot of our mutual friends go nuts over it.
Yep.
Which means that if at any point in the future they were like, I'm going to cancel my Netflix subscription, or I already did. Now they're like, oh shit, I gotta pick up that subscription because that's like their thing. I play Baldur's Gate and Dota. Like if they said you gotta pay for it every month, okay, I'm paying for it.
Well, I think this is just the wave of the future. I mean, we're gonna start getting all of our big events, all of the stuff we actually like to watch. We're going to have to pay a streaming service to watch these things. Yeah. I mean, look at the NFL. They had last weekend. They had the playoff game with the Chiefs. It was exclusively on Peacock. You couldn't watch that game if you did not have the Peacock network. And Peacock made a fortune. And guess what? There's going to be more playoff games in the future like that. We're not going to be able to watch anything on network TV that's worth watching, except King of Queens and Friends reruns. And it's going to suck. It already does suck because you still can't. You can't watch anything really good on network television now. It's all LA Law bullshit.
Why do you need it, bro? When you have Peacock, it's so cheap.
I'm just saying. All the primo content is going to be on streaming going forward.
Everyone here loves the cock. Okay. So
I'm just mad that it took you guys so long to figure out how good that damn streaming service is. I was telling you guys for like 2 years.
Yeah. I can't tell if you're being sarcastic or not, but I extol the virtues of Peacock all the time.
Oh no, I'm just talking about you. Yeah. But to these guys, literally for 2 years now, I was like the best streaming out there service, best streaming service by far.
It
like,
is.
but dollars for dollars. That has everything you need for the lowest amount of money.
For
Actually,
$4.99 a
believe-
month.
I
They do
believe
have a lot of
Hulu is
content.
the best. I believe Hulu is the best, at least for me personally, as far as content that I actually want to watch. Hulu is the best streaming service out there, as far as also the best interface.
Oh
of
my
all of
god!
them,
Everything
but-
you're saying right now is
You mean
completely
Disney Plus
backwards.
No,
Oh, you're being sarcastic.
No, look, they have a lot of old
The
Fox
worst
shows
interface,
from
man.
the old Fox shows from the early 2000s that you just
Yeah.
aren't going to get in other places. The back catalog of merchandise. I'm not talking about new stuff. I don't give a crap about the new stuff. They have a strong back catalog of stuff. And they also, for a long time, had a strong investment in old movies that I would want to watch and stuff like that. It had nothing to do with exclusive new content. It was what did they have available from the past? And we're seeing a lot of that now where they're pushing a lot of, like, Netflix recently has been uploading a lot of old action movies. I'm seeing a lot in Amazon has been as well. And I assume that's because they're losing money and they have to actually put things on their platform that are actually going to get people to want to watch. Right. But yeah, my enjoyment of Hulu is because I can watch like Terminator, the Sarah Connor Chronicles, or old episodes that were on Fox shows back in like 2010.
Like Fastlane.
Or Dollhouse.
Tiffany Amber Thiessen.
Ooh, Dollhouse,
Welcome to
yeah.
the candy shop.
Dollhouse and stuff
I
like that.
want to throw this to Tom. Tom, what's your analysis of this move by Netflix, and how do you think it affects the streaming landscape?
Well, I mean, outside of the more recent news this week about Vince McMahon, this is a big move for both parties because, as you guys have been saying, I mean, wrestling has a huge following. This is a big deal for Netflix. It puts them on the plane of live streaming, which, I mean, Peacock and Paramount Plus, I think that's the only reason they've been hanging in there, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't know, Brian. I mean, there's a lot of more than 50% of the people, I think is the number now, have cut the cable, right? And you can't really get
That's true.
standard broadcast anymore unless you live real close to the networks. I would know because anytime I try to get over the air TV, it's impossible here. So, I mean, in some cases, that's the only way you can get local channels. I mean, and seeing Netflix getting into live television in a way, it's kind of a new thing for them. They're bringing in ads. Who knows? They may end up having like a bunch of channels before too long.
It's gonna, it's gonna circle back around until we're watching network TV again.
Yeah.
That's what we're going to be
On
doing.
Son of
That's
a
what's gonna happen
bitch.
again. And you're right. You were right about that number. I was just reading an article the other day that said the old number for cable was 100 million active users. It's now 50 million. So 50% have cut the cord.
Well, speaking of cutting the cord, so I want to throw this to Odin, who's our numbers guy. So Netflix is getting ready to get rid of like the ad-free bottom tier stuff, and they're going to be introducing like advertising to their platform, and same thing with Amazon. How do you think that's going to affect things for consumers going forward, Odin?
Oh, it's so hard to tell because it depends on the person. I know that a lot of people love things for free, obviously, right? And people don't like having to pay, especially with all the streaming services that there are now. As someone who tries to watch as much as possible in a given year, just in the media space that we're in, it's kind of crazy when I look at all the streaming services that I currently subscribe to, because I subscribe to them all. So it's like if I actually sat down and did all the addition on that one, I'd be like, oh my goodness, I'm paying way too much for these things. But it kind of goes with the territory. But bringing that up though just also brings up the point, saying that people love that free stuff, but then people also like convenience too. And so it's going to be interesting because you're going to have a certain group of people that are going to say, I don't care if I have to deal with ads as long as I'm not paying nearly, as long as I don't have to pay at all, I'm there. Or if there are people saying, oh, I have to pay a little bit more to not have any ads at all, there's that other group saying, I just like the convenience of everything and I don't want to deal with ads and I just want to be able to experience it myself. And what's also interesting is that I do feel like there is a growing movement, maybe not on a national level necessarily, but especially amongst our space, a lot more people are being more vocal about starting their own servers, right? Of starting to, just buy their own media, physical media, push, create their own Plex server, their own
Yeah,
Jellyfin
that's what I have. I
server,
have Plex.
anything like that. You know, I was on Plex
Awesome.
for a long time. I recently switched over to Jellyfin. I just like the interface a lot better. Haven't had as many issues.
What about what about being able to access it from your phone though when you're out and all that?
You can still do that too. There's ways.
Oh.
There's ways to be able to get around that actually still.
I
So
see.
it works out very well. But essentially, you have these different groups that are there. So I think that again, it could be something where I think that they might slow the bleeding, but I don't think it's going to stop it. I think that the streaming wars, as South Park once made famous, eventually is just going to lead to way too much pee-pee. Way too much pee-pee in the world. And I think
I
there's
so
too many
wish we
streaming
had
services,
trademarked that.
You
dang
know,
it.
I know. I know.
Way too much PP. It's
Yeah.
good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Brett, I know that you dropped out on us when
Yeah.
you were in the middle of your WWE rant. Was there anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah, let's hope it doesn't cut out again. Maybe Vince actually stopped it right there. That could have been he cut my internet right on that one. Look, I think that the company has done an incredible job of like branching out to be, you know, the argument that people always have is like it's not wrestling, it's sports entertainment. Well, they've turned themselves into a global brand that seems to always be trying to think about how they're going to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to their media presentation. And that doesn't even mean that they stopped. I mean, they were still making pay-per-views a couple of years ago where you could buy WrestleMania for like $50 rather than just pay the $14.99 to get it on WWE Network or the whatever it costed to get it on Peacock. So they've always branched out. They've always done that. I do think that it's insane the timing of the Vince McMahon release right now, given that I saw that Slim Jim pulled their partnership of the Royal Rumble this weekend. It's funny because I was like, what are they going to do for the press conference after this? But they're going to have to try to focus on the wrestling and then the Netflix deal. Because now the other thing is that The Rock just became a board member for TKO, which is the Endeavor company that owns both WWE and the UFC. So they're going to have to put the focus on him, who has the more clean-cut image, and they're going to try to get it off Vince, who's now spoiled goods for a long time. But if you ever want to do something interesting, go down down the rabbit hole of like wrestling Twitter. It's fascinating. It's
wild.
I don't contribute, but I definitely dabble in reading wrestling Twitter, and it's like reading a foreign language sometimes. So I don't think the business is going to suffer because they do have those diehard fan bases. And like you said earlier, like what you said earlier about how WWE is forward thinking with like using their YouTube channel and their TikTok to figure out who is really popping with fans. Like there are like whole stan accounts for like female like that are crazier than the Brie Larson stan accounts. I'm not even kidding you. Like there's Instagram accounts for like female wrestlers that you've never heard of that have like huge audiences because they know that this company is using social media metrics to figure out what they're going to do.
Yep, good stuff. Real quick, I want to throw this to Brian.
Hey.
So Brian, one of the things I've noticed when it comes to Netflix is that Warner Brothers basically, and a lot of other studios have started licensing their stuff back to Netflix. It's like, you know, their streamers aren't making them any money. And so like I'm looking at like all the DC universe stuff that's going to Netflix and like all like the back catalog of Warner Brothers stuff. And I'm like, why am I paying for Max when Netflix is getting all their stuff? So do you think that we're going back to like a pre-streaming wars era where all these companies are just going to be licensing stuff to Netflix and you can actually get value from cutting cords once more?
Yeah, I do believe that the waterfall method of like canceling services when there's nothing new on or you know, fresh is going to come back with a passion because there's a few services now that are encompassing the majority of the back catalog you care about. There's really no reason right now for me to have Max. The only reason I had Max before was to have access to all my favorite DC movies, a bunch of cool cartoons, and which also are gone, and other things that they just slowly removed. And it's no longer Max, or HBO Max. It's now like Discovery with a few Max stuff thrown in.
Really, I didn't know this.
There's a reason why I didn't pay for Discovery. Not that it's bad, if you like it, whatever. It wasn't for me. So like now that it's like 87% Discovery, I'm like, why do I have this still? And now they're getting rid of all the stuff I did like. all the adult cartoons, and a lot of the DC stuff. I'm keeping it right now because I already paid for the year. If something big does come out, then I might keep it. But if I get to the end of the year and I'm still sitting in this very stagnant place and all my favorite content is somewhere else, there's literally no reason for me. Like, I'm not gonna pay $15 a month to watch Naked and Afraid. I'm just not gonna do it.
No.
The Wire and The Sopranos.
Yeah, but I've seen The Wire and The Sopranos 17 times.
Yeah.
You know, like
What about Rick and Morty's on Max? Watch Rick and Morty.
that is very true. Except for now they're between seasons, which means I can go. You know what? I can take 9 months off and wait for.
You can watch Barbie on Max. You can watch it as many times as you want. It's the number one movie.
It's
the number one movie.
Okay.
It's the number one movie.
Rick and Morty was the one thing I had that I was waiting for, and it's there's a year before anything comes back with that. So,
is DC animated over there on Netflix now, or is it just the DC live actions?
No, there's some animated and there's a little bit of both. So some stuff is still on Max. There's some DC stuff still on Max. There's some cartoons still on Max. In fact, some of them have both. Like, in fact, for a while, I'm not sure if this is still accurate, but for a while there was a Shazam on one and a Shazam 2 on the other, which I thought
the number 5 movie today on Max is Alvin and the Chipmunks: The Squeakquel. So, you know, they're kicking ass over there.
Yeah, MGM and Amazon does the same thing with the Bond movies, where like some of them are on Amazon Prime and some of them are not. The ones that I like are not. I'm guessing they're just on MGM Plus, which I will never get purely out of principle.
Speaking of,
welcome to the license game.
What about the Star Trek movies? They left Paramount. They're somewhere. Is it Max or Netflix? I forgot.
They're all over the place because that's what they figured out. This was the big lie that was sold about the streaming services.
Remember
right?
Paramount Plus, the home of Star Trek. A year later,
and the thing is they sold the lie to themselves because they saw Netflix doing well, making lots of money, being able to pay them, you know, millions, if not billions, in you know, revenue for their shows and movies. They're like, well, we got to do that.
I think
they didn't stop to think about if you do it yourself, you have to pay for all the overhead, you have to pay for the streaming service, you have to pay for the network, you have to do all this stuff. You have to create this stuff on top of it all, and nobody's paying you to do it anymore like they were before, like Netflix. That's where they was writing out all these checks before. And they're like, well, crap. Now we have to take care of this all by ourselves. It's like, yeah, this is what happens when you turn something which, look, I'm the last person in the world who wants to see a monopoly over anything. But Netflix should have been treated like a format and not a streaming service or not a service or anything else like that. It should have been treated like, look, we've been through these format wars before. The last thing we need is a format war where every single studio decided they wanted their own format.
Right.
This would be like during the time of DVD versus DivX or Blu-ray versus HD DVD. Had every single studio decided, you know what? We're going to come up with our own disc. So you had 10 different fucking disc-based systems that you had to deal with. If you just like, well, do I want Disney or do I want Fox? What about Warner Brothers? Maybe Universal have some fuck. You know, that's where we're at right now. And that's where they're like, well, there ain't no money in this. Well, no shit, dumbass, because you have no money coming in. Yeah. When you've taken something where a movie where you used to sell it, you know, 10, $15 a pop in the theater per person to see it on screen, and then another $10, $20 more to buy it on Blu-ray or DVD later, and you're literally giving people a service that's half the price of a Blu-ray, you're not making any money. Duh!
And add to that the fact that it's not hard to be able to, you know, kind of abuse the system, as it were, right? There's actually services that are even completely legal services, like Play On, for instance, that act as DVR services. And legally, you can actually record your Netflix shows, your Amazon Prime shows, your Amazon Prime movies. And as long as you're not distributing it out, you know, because it records it so that your IP addresses and your name is in the beginning of the recording, at the end of the recording. Like, I think that's how they get around it. But basically, it's like, oh my goodness, like this is something too where they have honestly shot themselves in the foot with all this stuff.
Pro tip: I used to use Play On. A better service is Keep Streams, no IP in the beginning, and much higher quality.
Real quick, so back when Paramount Plus was called CBS All Access, Les Moonves had a plan where basically, like, he wanted to get this stuff on everyone's mobile phone and tablets, and it was an ad ad supported strategy where he was basically like, we have so much coverage and so many subscribers that we can serve ads to. And so like his proposition for CBS All Access was as an ad supported platform, basically expanding the network TV model to everyone's mobile devices and stuff like that. But then he got Me Too'd before he could actually like fully implement this stuff, and it got taken over by other people who didn't have the same vision as him. And it was just kind of interesting to see like where Paramount ended up after that whole thing.
For me personally, looking at Max, it would be hard for me to turn my Max off because, you know, all the Star Trek movies are over there, which should be on Paramount, right?
Is that what they're on Max?
Yeah, they're all on Max. All the Lord of the Rings stuff is there. You know, I'm a guy, I can turn on Curb Your Enthusiasm and just leave it on all day.
That's true. That's like a go.
You know,
and that's where Max shot themselves in the foot, right? They took the HBO out of it.
Yeah.
Well, no, because you know, The Sopranos is here, Curb's here, all those HBO.
I mean,
shows
the name,
are here.
though,
Boardwalk
that's
Empire.
the point.
Yeah, I mean, there's a ton of stuff on Max that I actually kind of like. I'm just kind of flipping through the catalog right now. I'm keeping it for a while because you know, it's just there's a lot of good stuff on here. But I don't know. I get what you guys are saying.
You know what's funny is, so I recently rewatched the first season of True Detective, and you know how like the old HBO shows started with that like static screen where it's like and it goes to HBO. And it like rewatching that, it just made me feel like, oh man, I missed this prestige TV stuff
Because they special.
Yeah, it used to be like groundbreaking stuff, and now it's just not. Like we're all in a holding pattern until House of the Dragons comes
Right.
out this
Well,
season.
wasn't it that former writer of The Sopranos who just came out like a week ago or whatever that said that prestige TV is dead?
Yep.
I covered that last week. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you want to feel old, they're doing the 25th anniversary celebration for The Sopranos. So there you go.
There was
25 years.
like it's funny because like you mentioned like what are you watching, like so I actually am using Max right now because I'm watching Chuck again on Max and I love Chuck, but it's also on Amazon
Chuck is
Prime.
amazing.
Yeah, Chuck is an amazing TV show.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm
Prime.
watching Chuck with my kids on Prime. I know it's
amazing.
on Max.
All right, guys, we got some super chats to get to real quick. So we got basically Brian's the head of Brian's fan club. We got Fluffy Panda for
Here we
9
go.
months. Netflix is going to be way more expensive than the cock. Yes, indeed, will be.
true.
David Nelson for $1.99. When is the next Vegas meetup? So right now it looks like it's going to be April 7th through the 11th, David. So mark your calendars for that. And if you ever just want to know, just look up when CinemaCon's happening, because that tends to be when the Vegas meetup happens. And we got Lover of Green for $10. Did you guys hear about the layoffs at the LA Times? I despise layoffs, but those journalists 100% deserve it. They are a big reason why 10% of America refuses to leave the 2020 mandates behind. Not only did LA Times get laid off, but did you guys see the Taylor Lorenz rant about like how like everyone's getting laid off? Like this is Biden's plan. Like everyone's getting laid off because the economy's crappy.
But it's better. It's better, Matt.
No, the economy's better, Matt. That's what they said.
Groceries cost twice as much.
It's
Stephen King said so.
We're on track.
It's really ghoulish. It's really ghoulish, but like right now, like because of the way that like when you cover this stuff every day, right? And everyone says like, look, nothing's changing, everything's the same. They're going to keep making the same crappy movies, the same crappy television shows. I've started to measure Hollywood's change in layoffs. Sadly, that's like we were just talking about the recent Paramount layoffs. We were just talking about the fact that Peacock, the one we were just talking about 10 minutes ago, lost $2.7 billion in 2023 after losing $2.5 billion in 2022. You know, it's like the only way you can really keep track of whether it's doing well or not is by whether there's actually work being had or whether people are losing jobs. So
gonna get some of that NFL money.
They bought too much. They bought so much licensed stuff.
I don't know, man. Honestly, this streaming stuff, just really quick. The streaming stuff is kind of bothering me because it's going to be soon where you're going to have Peacock to watch the World Series and Max to watch the Super Bowl and Paramount Plus to watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. And you know, if you're a sports guy, you're like going, "Oh my God, I don't want to have to do this."
Well, why do you think Zaslav wanted?
I feel that's where it's heading, man. It's freaky.
That's why Zaslav wanted Paramount Global, is because he doesn't give a shit about Paramount. He wants CBS.
Yeah.
He wants a network for Warner Brothers, and B, he wants the sports to go with it. Right. And then he wanted to take the news department over at CBS and gut CNN and put all them over at CNN. So yeah,
I mean, I know a lot of people. There's a lot of people that.
But it's looking like Skydance might make the deal now. But yeah, anyway,
I'm a sports guy. I like hockey. I like football. I even like playoff basketball and stuff, and I just don't want to.
What about the WNBA?
Be forced? No, I mean, we do have the champions aces.
So you like everything except for the WNBA.
I like real sports, not women's sports.
Oh.
Okay,
that's where Disney has dug so deep into this crap. They should totally excise all male sports from ESPN and just try to make it on women's sports and see how that turns out.
Yeah.
The gauntlet's been thrown down.
It's funny. The only thing we get any views on is tennis. I don't understand.
Doesn't make any sense.
Guys, real quick, we got another $5 super chat from Fluffy Panda. Brian always complains I pick on him, but since I didn't make the cut of the online amplifiers of anti-LGBTQ plus extremism, I'll have to try harder. Yes.
What does it even
mean?
Try
harder, Fluffy Panda. Try harder. And Mexican Iron Man for $9.99. Shout out from the Anaheim Nam music show where my Iron Kid is performing.
Oh,
Even
nice.
from here, I feel the powerful force of the great Mr. Kadish. LOL.
Yeah, he put out a fun tweet just a little while ago from there. It was pretty neat.
He's in Anaheim?
Yes, he is visiting California, and there's a possibility that him and Paulie might be coming to Vegas and hanging out with us. So we're
That's
looking
rad.
forward to that.
I'm close to Anaheim, Mike.
Yes, you are in California. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about Amazon buying out Mr. Beast. Well, not buying him out, but basically giving him a ton of money to basically do exactly what he's doing on YouTube. So
because that's what he needs. This guy sold his soul to the devil, right? Like,
I don't get it.
He's just a good businessman.
Not at all. Yeah, and he reinvests basically everything he makes into like his product. But what's interesting about this is that this is another Jennifer Salke deal. And for those of you who don't know who Jennifer Salke is,
I know her.
So she's like the girlfriend you get who starts spending all your money.
Mm-hmm.
You're like, hey babe, can you not spend money? And she's like, why don't you just make more money?
Yep.
And then she keeps on spending and start taking credit cards out your name and stuff like that.
Right. Right. Like, why is the mortgage not in my name anymore?
Yeah. So Jennifer Salke is basically responsible for the $1 billion acquisition of, Rings of Power and the fiasco that was Citadel. Basically, she throws money at Hollywood for clout.
But complained about an $8 million budget for New Stargate. She complained about an $8 million budget. $8 million for a new Stargate series.
Yeah. So here's what's funny about this Mr. Beast deal, right? So basically, Mr. Beast has way more subscribers than Amazon does currently on his YouTube channel. And what they're giving him $100 million to do is basically they want him to do game shows that are exactly the same as the ones that he's currently doing on his YouTube channel. But the funny thing about this is that, so first of all, the first episode of this game show is going to be premiering on Mr. Beast's YouTube channel. And the idea here is that, they want to try to draw some of Mr. Beast's audience over to Amazon for the rest of the series. And Mr. Beast is like, yeah, okay, that's cool. I mean, this guy made $260,000 off of one tweet the other day. So he's not hurting for money, but basically he's getting Amazon to finance the videos that he's already making. And he's premiering it to his own audience and then reaching a broader audience of older people who are paying for Amazon Prime. Who probably don't even know who he is. But I feel like this is a very shrewd move on Mr. Beast's part and a very somewhat dumb move on Amazon's part. But at the same time, there are some benefits for it. So I want to throw this to Brett. Brett, what's your take on this Amazon deal?
I think Mr. Beast is a fantastic businessman. I think that this is probably better for him than it is for them. I don't think the audiences translate in the same way. I think that the people that watch Mr. Beast are internet, they're the internet age people. His audience is mostly younger. Depending on how much you can get to actually transfer over from Amazon or from YouTube over to Amazon. It is funny to see the individual be the lead in. Like normally the big corporation with all the money is the one that ends up being the lead in so that they can lead into the smaller production and be the one that helps get them viewers. No, the guy who runs the YouTube channel is doing the first episode to lead in to Amazon. So I think it's, and he's multifaceted. He does his food. He had a deal with YouTube when they were doing YouTube Red, where he did stuff as well. So he's always looking to expand and grow. And also what this will end up doing is, like, you're right, he reinvests everything he makes back into his projects, which will give him more income to make these things more dynamic. It's not something I'm gonna watch, but I got to appreciate the business acumen.
That's true. Now, Matt Vader 74. Have you ever watched a Mr. Beast video?
I think I've watched a couple of videos of his. There was one I think I watched where he put a house up for sale for $1 or something, and they waited for somebody to walk in the door. And another one was like he gave a trick-or-treater keys to a new car or a new house or something like that. It's just not something I'm interested in, or anything that I watch. This is Zennial TV. This is it's just not something I'm into. I don't understand it. I don't get it. But obviously there's an audience out there, and it's like Brett said, you kind of have to appreciate the business acumen of this guy and his team, because he's rolling in it. He's where we all want to be in this YouTube world, right? I mean, it is what it is. I appreciate that. World. So yeah. The thing I get is, why are YouTubers that watch his stuff on YouTube where his audience is, are they going to want to watch his stuff on Amazon? Does it?
Yeah, I don't know if it translates.
So I don't know. It's strange.
I want to throw this over to Tom, because Tom, this is like the first time that we've seen like a mainstream crossover of someone who's basically a YouTuber, kind of going over to like a major studio, like one of the biggest companies in the world. And do you think that this legitimizes YouTubers and kind of opens a door for other YouTubers to start making deals with studios?
What's a Mr. Beast? No, I really barely know of this guy. I kind of know just like what Matt Vader was saying about him. Good for him. I mean, Amazon kind of already had this thing going, wasn't with Twitch or whatever. Because I guess even us, like if we wanted to, it's not that hard of a process to get our stuff on Amazon, I guess.
And Amazon owns Twitch. That's
we have our documentaries on Amazon.
Yeah, so I mean,
it's not really worth the money though. You make next to nothing.
Right, but I mean, with somebody like Mr. Beast, I mean, it's a big deal for them. It's a big deal for him. I'm surprised other YouTubers like PewDiePie and some other bigger ones haven't gotten more deals like this. I mean, in the past, though, has a YouTuber getting their own show really ever gone anywhere? I mean, anywhere between the ones that I can think of, no.
Yeah.
Because their audience is pretty much YouTube.
Well, also, in terms of PewDiePie, so he had a big deal with Disney that fell through once all the racial stuff, kind of like that controversy hit. But I want to throw this to Odin. Odin in the Doug Lyman open letter to Amazon, he kind of talked about how he believes that the Amazon algorithm is the thing that really dictates what Amazon does as opposed to human beings. I know that Brian and Shane have some experience with that, where it's like, we can't get a human to do anything because it's all run by computers over there.
No, literally a human will literally be like, we don't know what to do. The computer says to do this, but there's no button for that. And you're like, what the fuck? Like you be talking like someone, like a supervisor, and they're like, there's really no button for that.
Yeah. And I'll let Brian take that in a little bit. But Odin, in terms of like the Mr. Beast thing, like this is actually kind of a huge deal, because a lot of people don't know that Mr. Beast, in addition to being the world's biggest YouTuber, he has a huge international following, right? Like he's big in a lot of different, language speaking countries, because he's one of the few YouTubers who kind of pioneered the thing of like republishing his stuff in other languages that actually match like the lips and stuff like that. And so it's a seamless viewing experience for people in South America, for people in Europe and Asia and stuff like that. And so by making this deal with Mr. Beast, Amazon isn't only kind of targeting, the YouTube crowd that follows him and the younger crowd, but they're also kind of courting an international audience to come on, like leave Netflix and go over to Amazon. So what's your take on this? Do you think this is a good move for Amazon?
I think it's on paper a much better move for Mr. Beast than for Amazon necessarily. And the reason why is because I assume that this is going to be content behind the paywall that is the Prime Video service, right? And let's just be honest, I think the vast majority of the audience that watches Mr. Beast are teenagers on YouTube who are not going to be paying Amazon money to access stuff that they previously would have already gotten. I guess that's the other thing too. I don't know too much about, like, does this mean that he can still make his typical YouTube content, but then he's making like special content for Amazon? And if that's the case, then guess what? I don't think you're gonna have a lot of crossover. I don't think they're gonna have a lot of those teenagers that are gonna, go and pay Amazon Prime or obviously many of them might already have access to it. I don't think you're gonna get a lot of new people getting access to it though. And typically I feel like for things like this, that's what they're trying to drive for, is they're trying to drive for an increase either in people getting new subscriptions or keeping subscriptions. And just the audience that he has, I don't think is going to be one where it's going to be as financially viable, I guess for them.
Do you think, Odin, that maybe since his traditional audience is scaled younger, that they think that his audience is growing older to becoming into becoming the age that are going to buy new Amazon Prime accounts and stuff?
That could be their,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see that being their mindset. But I think if anyone's actually been paying attention to the more recent generations, that's not really what's going to happen. Because if we've learned anything, especially since COVID, people are staying younger longer, right? I mean, people are not being really forced to become adults, right? Because you can be kids up until your mid 20s, late 20s, even, right? I think what the average age now,
35.
someone staying at home is
35.
mid 20s. Oh, is it actually 35?
35.
I think it was 33, and I think it went
Wow.
up to 35. I think you're right. And
I
yeah,
found
that's
that,
exactly
I found
what
that
I
out
was
last
saying.
week, and I was stunned. I couldn't.
Yeah.
And I was saying that same thing, Odin, about how the audiences don't really transfer, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, kids are already used to being able to watch this stuff for free. Even YouTube Red was a failed experiment. And what did YouTube Red do? They had Cobra Kai and a couple other original shows.
Yeah.
And then the rest of it was made up of their biggest YouTubers,
Yeah.
right? Doing original stuff just for you. And you couldn't even get the kids
And
interested
one of them,
in that.
and one of them, of course, was PewDiePie. And I think that was there was a whole Scare PewDiePie show, because I remember I was watching him at that time, and I remember he'd keep doing these promos for it. I'm like, I'm still not buying it. I was like, still, and I wasn't a teenager at the time, so I was like, look, I'm already in my 20s, and so I can at least think about buying these things, or I probably could have access to them. But I looked at the service and I said, this doesn't look like it's worth the money that you're asking me to get it for. And
You gotta be
ultimately,
honest though,
it
man.
failed,
We give YouTube a lot of shit, but at least they picked YouTubers and they didn't go after Hollywood. Like,
because even.
Well, Cobra Kai was their only success, but
Because
That's
I'm yeah, exactly, and I'm 35, and so I'm the kind of person where, because of convenience, I do have YouTube Premium because I hate ads, right?
Yeah.
I'm just sick of the ad.
It's
But
finally time for you to move out of your mom and dad's house. You need to move on.
yes, now that I have 2 kids, I definitely need to move out of the parents' house now, right? But no, because I just think about all of the implications of this, and it really does just shows you how incompetent or how short-sighted a lot of these executives are, and all of these major corporations. I mean, look at the decisions they made for COVID, right? They said, oh, everyone's at home, let's just make a bunch of content for online streaming. And what did it do? It shot them in the foot. They spent all this money and did not really get any return on it. And what's fascinating too is when you look at things that were already streaming, those numbers actually didn't improve. Those numbers actually went down. And it's like, wait a minute. How is this the case where people are now at home and have more access to it, but they're not watching it in higher numbers? Maybe it's because the content you're giving is just not worth the investment. So, but I have YouTube Premium, but I know that, I teach, high school age students, and I know every single one of them has at least 10 apps that they know that can block ads, and they're, getting advanced every single day. So any ones that have like the ones where it blocks your ads, but then it also causes issues because YouTube's like saying, nah, you can't do that. They're going to find a way around it. There's always going to be a way around it when the internet is involved.
Yeah, you can actually I'm sorry for YouTube, but you can use 2 different ad blockers. They're called I'm serious. It's called uBlock and AdBlock Plus. And if you use them together and you whitelist YouTube, it'll actually have the reverse effect and it won't slow your computer down. Pro tip: have fun, guys.
Oh, you need to text me that, okay?
Okay.
You are hurting our
definitely.
revenue stream, Brian. Okay, we need
Yeah.
those ads.
For the 0.0001%.
Speaking of hurting revenue streams, so Brian, we talked a little bit about the Amazon algorithm, and it seems to me like this is another algorithm thing where it's like, oh, get popular YouTuber, bring him onto network, profit. But in addition to that, we also have the Jennifer Salke factor, where basically, it looks like she's trying to now start chasing clout outside of Hollywood with like big time YouTubers. So what's your take on this?
Jennifer Salke is a very interesting person. Like your analogy of her being the girlfriend or wife that just spends your money is so perfect. Yeah, I couldn't have put it better. And I've always tried to somehow explain how this person works. And it's very difficult to explain, but that is the perfect way. She was given this job and she is just spending money hand over fist, not to be successful, but because she really likes to hang out with celebrities and stars. And you can tell the celebrities and stars and shows that she doesn't care about. And those are the ones that are highly scrutinized, like Stargate and RoboCop, highly scrutinized and given budgets that are impossible. Like it's impossible to make an entire season of Stargate, an ensemble cast with VFX and everything for $8 million. She knew it was impossible, so she gave a task to the Expanse guys that was literally impossible to do. And then everyone's like, "Well, why couldn't they work it out?" Because there wasn't enough. But she'll give $100 billion, to everyone else. Same goes for RoboCop. So this person is not an executive, like a Hollywood executive. She doesn't understand that world yet. Maybe she's learning on the job. I don't know. But she wants to, in her mind, I believe this. She wants to legitimize Amazon Studios as a studio. And the easiest way to do that is to buy your way into the club. And so just throw money around, give whatever money you got to give to wherever you want to give so you can get close enough to people so you can legitimize your position as the head of this studio. I believe that's what's going on. And I'm the only reason she still has a job is because Amazon is so filthy rich that they haven't noticed yet.
And you have a lot of experience with Amazon directly, right? How
So
frustrating
much.
it is over there. Yeah.
Before this live stream, I was on it's called an EXT call. And literally when you're talking, like normal people will never have this call. When you're talking to an actual person, like at an Amazon server farm somewhere, right? That's not something that normal people can do. Normally, when you set up AWS or you have a seller's account for Amazon, the store or whatever you're doing, like we're with the store, we're AWS, we're really plugged into Amazon because that's our only choice, right? Even like our shipping in other countries, in some other countries, has to use Amazon because that's the only option that's a safe option. It's crazy. And so I'm like on the phone, I'm on a call, and this was like 3-4 months ago, and there's this like wild thing going on where we have products and different like server instances, like Python servers, like one of them, like what our Shane AI uses. It's a Python server that are just randomly being deleted, just randomly being deleted or being stopped and held up in the system. And they can't, and you can't add anything to it, or a product that was given a copyright notice, but they can't remove the products. Crazy stuff. So I'm sitting there talking to the guy, and I'm like, "All right, well, you know what, man? Someone's at the server, right? Why don't you just pull the rack and put a new one in for me? What's that going to cost?" He goes, "Well, there's really no option to do that." I'm like, "Aren't you in front of the server?" He goes, "Yes, sir." I'm like,
So do it.
"So do it." He goes, "Well, you have to ask the computer if it's a good idea, and the computer says it's not, and I can't do contrary to what it says because it's locked. So the server will lock itself if the suggested solution is not the actual solution. It's like it locked the server, and he's not allowed. He's literally physically impaired from being able to pull the rack out.
The computer's going all, What are you doing, Dave?
Yeah,
I'm afraid I can't allow that, Dave.
I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah, it's like based on I don't know what information.
Can I
but
distract
just
you with some porn,
decided
Dave?
that a real human being couldn't do his job, and that is one instance. And I've had dozens over the last 5 years of people are like, well, the algorithm, and they call it that too, like on Amazon stores. Well, the algorithm says this, this, and this, so it must be the case. Like, well, but it's not the case. Well, but it says it is. I'm like, but it's not. It's not the case.
So what I'm hearing here is that you're actually developing your Shane AI to be able to talk to Amazon for you.
Shut up. No. No, off air, bro.
So your AI can talk to their
You're
AI.
creating Skynet. That's what I'm hearing.
Just wait. Like,
No.
listen,
You know what?
people-
You know what this reminds me of, Brian? It reminds me of that show, Person of Interest, where basically you have these warring AIs and people just go along with whatever the AI says because they believe in their AI over the other AI.
That's
It's
my
so
favorite
crazy.
show of all. My favorite show of all time, and I think that the bad guy Greer from that show is actually probably one of the greatest, most complex villains. Because even at the end of the show, he does whatever the AI tells him right up until the very end because he's a true believer. That's
Brett, we gotta hang out more, bro.
That's what those
you
amateurs-
name drop show like some of my favorite shows of all time, dude. Chuck,
October.
I've actually never seen an episode of Person of Interest.
Person
it's an
of
amazing
Interest
show.
starts out the first two
Never had any
seasons are
interest
like
in it.
there's interim stories that are done through flashbacks that play into the larger story, but most of the episodes are fairly episodic. You can just watch them individually and you would be able to just skip around. But as it gets to the end of season 2, it becomes a serialized drama that really does become about warring AI all the way up till the very end.
Yeah.
It predicted the NSA scandal before it happened. They were all of this happened before anything came out about Snowden. It's
Odin.
fantastic.
Jesus is
actually-
the main character, bro.
Well, I knew that.
Jim Caviezel.
Caviezel. That's the only thing I ever knew about the show was that he was in
It's
it.
actually a really interesting show because it starts off as kind of like a bad guy of the week where the AI predicts someone's going to be like a person of interest where they're either the perpetrator of a crime or victim of the crime, and so like Jim Caviezel has to go and like figure out what's happening. But over the course of like the lifespan of the show, it slowly transitions into this epic sci-fi war between artificial intelligences.
It's so good.
Who their followers basically consider to be gods.
Yeah,
And,
it's brilliant.
It's a really fascinating show.
And you know what's good about it? Like it hooks you with the episodic thing and then pulls you into that big giant narrative. It's one of my like top 5 shows of all time.
Gonna have to check it out.
Yeah.
And the way that what he just mentioned about how they do the episode of the week, where basically he gets a social security number and he has to figure out whether they're a good guy or a bad guy, is done brilliantly in every episode, because sometimes they're the good guys, sometimes they're the bad guy, sometimes there's 2 good guys, sometimes.
And I love that it's his call. Like it's the human's call
Yeah.
to make that determination. It's pretty cool.
Him, it's Michael Emerson, it's Amy Acker's in there. She's she's very big in the genre space. Sarah Shahi. It gets to be
Emerson's great.
Yes, he's fantastic. They did that because it was it's the one show, because I know everybody hates J.J. Abrams, but I'm like, look, he produced this show, therefore he gets a pass at least a little bit, because that was like his one big accomplishment. That and Alias to me are the 2 things that I liked from him. But it was Jonathan Nolan who made
it's a Jonathan
the show.
Nolan show.
Yeah.
So like the same people who did Westworld.
Yes.
So if you're kind of into that
Westworld
type of
sucks.
thing. Well, the last couple seasons definitely sucked.
Well,
but,
it's not Westworld though. That's my problem with it. If they'd have called it anything else, I wouldn't have cared.
But Person of Interest just from beginning to end kept a level of quality where like it was just like the entire show was just very
kind of
very
tying
interesting.
that to what we've been talking about as well. Imagine when streaming services themselves, obviously the algorithm already plays a big role, but just wait until you have a Netflix and you're like, oh, I really want to watch this old classic TV show or this old classic movie, and it just comes up with, I'm afraid I can't allow that. It's like you've hit your quota.
Your preferences
You've
don't
hit your
match
quota
this. You can't
on
watch it.
conservative-leaning content this month.
Yeah.
We must balance your brain. Like, it's gonna happen.
No, and you think that's not gonna happen? Like, it sounds dystopian until it isn't anymore. And at some point, there's gonna be they're gonna decide that it's for our best interest on how much masculine content we can consume.
Well, wasn't
because we're children basically.
Wasn't there that congresswoman who asked ChatGPT to write a positive essay about Donald Trump and it refused to do it?
Yeah, dude, ChatGPT is so cucked.
Well, when you've got Guns N' Roses actually editing their lyrics, I think that we've hit a point.
Did you see the?
The reason I built the AI thing was because of that story. I originally started going full tilt on my AI when I found out that ChatGPT literally can't answer a question that someone finds offensive.
October 27, 2024. That's when Brian AI went online.
My AI is pretty cool. Yeah. At one point, you see, I don't really care about saving the world.
12:35 a.m. Skynet
I'm so mad at
decided we were
Amazon.
too disturbed to live.
I want to watch the world burn. I'm just gonna set Shane loose on Amazon servers and just.
Terminator is rough for me. Terminator is rough for me because the last time I watched it, I had a really bad flu and fever, and the music in the first Terminator is so creepy. It's the best. It's one of the best parts about it. Now every time I get sick, I my brain goes to the music from the original Terminator, and it's really
Dude, but I love Sarah Chronicle.
Yes,
that's how I quit eating hamburger helper, man.
All right, guys.
Matt's gonna blow a gasket.
Yeah. We got to move on. So we got a couple super chats here. We got we got from Fluffy Panda for $2. Wasn't Mr. Beast one of the names of Vince's naughty toys?
Yeah.
Yes, that might have been. I don't know if you guys heard about what he.
It was Big Daddy V. That was the name of it.
Yeah. Good question, Fluffy Panda. Thanks for
a great question.
Thanks for elevating the
take that Ultimate Warrior. Do it. Let's go.
I want you to take the Mark Henry down.
This one's called the Andre the Giant. Let's go. You okay over there, Johnny Ace? Okay, boss.
And
let's go. All right.
Platonic Guardian for $5. News Corp and Viacom are making tons of money with Tubi and Pluto TV by making their content available free with ads. Sony should have kept Crackle.
Are they making money though?
No, Sony saw the lining, right? They're like, well, the money is not in the streaming service. The money's in the licensing things. Right. They know this is why Sony bought Columbia Pictures back in 1989. Because home video was huge, and they're like, well, we're selling all these VCRs. But you know what? There's a lot more money in the media than there is in the VCRs. So it's the same thing of why it's CDs. It's the same thing. That's why they bought a bunch of music out. That's the same reason why they got into the video game industry. They're like, looking at all this money that they're making on a little piece of plastic. Because guess what? Yes, the game itself costs a different amount of money to make than a movie does, or a CD does. But it doesn't cost any more to produce that CD. And you pay a heck of a lot more for a game than you do for a movie. So that's why Sony's like, we got to get in on that game. They're not dumb when it comes to money.
It's like the scam where the money's not in the printers, it's in selling the ink to
exactly. It's not in the hardware, it's in the software.
It's in the paper. It's in the returnables, man, for sure.
Yep, totally. All right, guys. So as you know, we're not very political here on the Salty Saturday TV show.
No, never.
And you know who else isn't political? Comedy Central, because Jon Stewart is returning to The Daily Show just in time for the 2024 election. And we got this article coming out of the New York Times. So Jon Stewart is coming out of retirement, and he's going to return to host The Daily Show, and he's also taking over as executive producer on the show. And basically, his whole thing is every Monday he's going to be hosting The Daily Show on Comedy Central to try to convince people to not vote for Trump.
That's it. That's what it's for. That's the purpose of this.
That's the whole reason he's coming back, is because he wants to fight the Trump insurgency. And this is coming off his failed Apple TV show. This is coming off of him producing the Colbert late night show and all this other stuff. And it's so blatantly political what they're doing here that I just felt like it needed to be talked about. So why don't we start with Brett, since you guys over at Pop Culture Crisis kind of deal with the culture war stuff. It seems like Jon Stewart is planting his flag to be the the vanguard of the culture war in 2024 right now. Is that what's your take on it?
Yeah, I mean, the timing is obviously very, very blatant, right? Like just ahead of the election makes perfect sense. I mean, I guess you could also say that like the failure of his show at over at Apple TV or whatever plays a role into it as well. I never watched nor cared for Jon Stewart. I think that a lot of people have said that he does have the redeeming quality that he's very pro-veteran and he's very he's done a lot of work on behalf of like the 9/11 first responders and stuff like that. Fine. I do believe as a whole, Jon Stewart exists to make Bill Maher look reasonable for the most part. Like none of it. Like for working at a company that's highly political, I just think all politics is awful and most, if not all, politicians are scum. So I kind of stay out of it. But yeah, the timing is the ultimate indicator that this will go on right up through election season. This is how they, like, you could make the argument, you know, I didn't watch Jon Stewart, but certainly I know a lot of people did. And he changed his show when it was in its prime, changed a lot of millennials' opinions on politics. So his reach should not be discounted. Now, we don't live in the same time period that we did, you know, back when the Daily Show was the powerhouse that it once was. But yeah, it sucks.
So Quantum Cat says that it's actually pronounced Commie Central as opposed to Comedy Central.
Yeah. Yes, Commie Central.
But
That's great.
yeah, but I want to throw this to our newest political commentator, Brian from the podcast, the heir apparent to Rush Limbaugh himself. Brian, what's your take on Jon Stewart basically coming out of retirement? Do you think it's because like he realizes he lost some clout since he left, or is this strictly just like, I don't want Trump to be elected?
Yeah, I'm not sure what his actual thoughts are, but I think it's a little cowardly. Like, dude, if you need the money, okay, cool, go back to your old job. You know, other things ain't working out. But I think that, you know, he hasn't been successful in anything outside that. I actually grew a lot of respect for him when he made that Colbert, whatever that guy, Stephen Colbert's appearance on his show, and he talked about the Wuhan lab and all that, and he went ham on the fact that it came from China, and he said some stuff that ruffled feathers of liberals, and that's where Jon Stewart is so dangerous. Because he's able to speak to you as if he's saying something that's reasonable, because 10% of the time he is, but the other 90% of the time there's like this underlying path that he's leading you down in order to convince you of his thought process. He's a very smart person. He's very smart. And the way he talks to people is it sounds completely normal. It sounds totally, you know, layman. He's able to make you laugh and show you the absurdity of something, but never show you the absurdity of the side that he's on. He only ever gives you just enough to make it look like he is being well-rounded, but being equal. But he's never actually being equal. John Oliver does the same exact thing. And you know who pushes John Oliver on you like some kind of groomer in the back of a Subway shop or drug dealer outside of a school? YouTube. Constantly.
Big time.
Dude, I can't finish watching something without John Oliver playing next. It's like the default YouTube video for it to autoplay to is always John Oliver.
Huh.
I have not just blocked him, I've reported them. I've said I don't want to watch this. I'm not subscribed. I don't even hate John Oliver, but I'm starting to hate the man because his voice always shows up at the end of a goddamn video. Dude, YouTube is 100% pushing John Oliver onto people. So what's going to happen when Jon Stewart is up next? Like, you don't think that that's going to be every single autoplay for the next 6-8 months? Of course it is, dude. And you think it's just YouTube? No. I don't care what social media site you use, except for maybe Twitter. Every one of them, they want the mainstream media support. They want that money. And so, you know, hey, Warner Brothers starts putting money out there for John Oliver, and now YouTube is going to rub shoulders. The same thing's going to happen with Comedy Central. and Jon Stewart. And you know what? Oh, you want to criticize it? Oh, dude, go and clip a John Oliver video and disagree with him. Like be contrary to his view. It could be 9 seconds. It wouldn't matter. Totally fair use, totally parody. And I've done this, by the way. And you are 100% demonetized, blocked, copyright claimed. You can dispute it, but it never effing matters. It's one of the few people the few clips I've never managed to get out of copyright claim hell. And they just don't allow any criticism of John Oliver. They're not going to allow any criticism of Jon Stewart either, which means that these two sort of regular everyday guys that can make you laugh and sort of look like they're being reasonable are never going to be criticized for their bad ideas. And that's why I can do this forever. I'm going to stop talking.
Yeah. I want to throw this to Odin. Odin, you know, one of the interesting headlines that's been coming out recently with the Republican, primary is that Trump's been gaining a lot of ground with younger voters. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Comedy Central's, Daily Show, like their primary audience is like college age and under, like high school, college age kids who don't really care about politics, but like they're just watching it because like there might be some laughs, or there used to be before Trevor Noah took over. So I wanted to ask you, like, do you think that the timing of this is basically like the Democrats and the Biden supporters realize that they're losing ground with younger voters, and so this is a move to try to basically keep indoctrinating the younger voters and keeping them from getting actual news?
I think that's what their attempt is, but the issue is that no one really watches that anymore. Yeah. You know, I think that Jon Stewart existed at a time when that was the segment of the audience that he had essentially control over. Mm-hmm. And then once his time was over, that audience kind of went by the wayside too, right? They really didn't stick around for anyone that came after him. You know, they stuck around maybe with Colbert, but look at how the Colbert audience has not transferred over to his late night show, for instance, right? It's a very different audience because
that's true.
You know, that specific show that he is on is for that older demographic. And so I think that a lot of the people that would have, originally been watching someone like Jon Stewart, some of them might come back. Some of them might say, oh, Jon Stewart's coming back to the Daily Show. Oh, that's nostalgic for me. Maybe I'm going to actually have to go back and watch some of that now. But those are people that they likely already have. So anyone who's a part of that younger generation that the original show was able to bring on, those people are not watching that stuff. They are fully invested on YouTube. They're fully invested in gaming. They're fully invested in all these other spaces that are not like the late night TV stuff. So I think,
entertainment has changed since 2015 when Jon Stewart quit, right? So, and he's not going to bring back anybody new to Comedy Central or to that show that didn't already watch him before. So I feel like this strategy that they're doing is probably not going to work. Maybe they'll get a few new people, but and it'll be the curious people at the very beginning. But I don't think a 61-year-old Jon Stewart is going to have a lot of he's not going to pique in the interest of these young 22, 23-year-old new voters that are going to be out there,
unless he has someone like Destiny on. Yeah. Like something like that. That might be a way. But guess what? That itself is not a guarantee, because they'll just say, "Oh, I'll wait for the clips to go out on YouTube."
I mean, Jon Stewart he's old white guy now. That's what he is. So it's like me.
She mentioned John Oliver. To me, it's Lex Friedman. That's who plays after everything that I watch, and I can't get get rid of him no matter how hard I try. So the algorithm really does control you.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. Actually, my brother Shane recently told me about Lex Friedman. He's like, "Oh, have you seen this Lex Friedman? Never heard of him." But yet, he has the same problem where he cannot stop watching him. And dude, I'm telling you, it's John Oliver's voice. I'll finish the video. I'm working, whatever. It's on my headphones. Like, "Well, what's going on?" I'm like, "Mother!" I get mad every time. Well, hello there. That
guys, you can turn off autoplay, right?
Okay, I have, but then when you boot up YouTube Music and then go back into the YouTube app, it automatically turns back on, and so you have to consciously remember every time.
I used to get John Oliver, but now I just usually get whichever one of us is live of my subscriptions. So I don't know. what
I
I
don't
did
get
to
any of my subscriptions
fix
anymore.
that.
It's all kind of based on your viewing habits. But I want to throw this to Tom. So Tom, you know, obviously, outside of the heyday of the Daily Show, the way people consume content has changed. And I feel like what their strategy is going to be is they're going to take the Monday night shows that he does, that Jon Stewart does, and clip the hell out of them, because all the late night shows, they get their views based off of clips for the highlights of their bigger shows. And so I think that we're going to see a lot of social media posts of Jon Stewart having these like quippy bits of spreading misinformation or demonizing the opposition party, and that's going to be their strategy for this. Now, how do you think that the way people consume content is going to play into the 2024 election?
Well, I mean, as far as the Jon Stewart thing, my understanding is he's just doing this for the election. But no, I think you're spot on. It's going to be everywhere. They're going to use him to try and push this. And I mean, I don't want to get too political here, but this is going to get nuts in the next few years here. And you said he was one of the producers on the Colbert Show. I didn't even know that. So that gives me even more pause. Yeah, it gives me more pause now, because I actually liked Colbert when he was on The Daily Show. I didn't like him when he came on to CBS, and then the show became the propaganda network.
Right.
And that's all this is going to be, if that's the case then. Because you're right, Jon Stewart has completely drunk the Kool-Aid. He's bought into whatever it was. I mean, he used to kind of be the more left-leaning Dennis Miller, is what I kind of considered him.
Yeah.
You know, it would have been great to have like those two on a point counterpoint kind of show at some point. It would have been not only funny, but I think you'd have really gotten some great insight on, both sides of views. But now he's completely gone, I think. I hope I'm wrong, but at this point, I'm not going to hold my breath. I think you're right. I think it's just going to be a propaganda tool for the next election, basically, and it's going to be everywhere.
Well,
if that's what you were asking, I mean.
Yeah, the interesting thing about this election is that the left no longer has Twitter. So it'll be interesting to see.
This is why they need people like him. You're right. Yeah, they need more celebrities. And
Biden has spent a bunch of money on influencers. So they're trying to corner what they consider their demographics that they need to cover in different ways, which is why they do so well, right? They they find what they consider to be the problem market, what they need to fill, what they need to figure out, who they need to influence, and they mobilize the social media, they mobilize Hollywood, they mobilize all of these demographics. And by the time the election rolls around, you're so steeped in one point of view, especially if you're not paying attention to this stuff, right? If you're paying attention to what's going on in the world, your algorithm will reflect the media that you're consuming, right? But if you're just, flying blindly and you're just being fed whatever they show to you, if you don't turn it off every time John Oliver just appears on your screen, every time a video auto plays, you're going to be surrounded by a bunch of voices that all push one viewpoint.
Yep. Yeah. All right, guys. Real quick, we got some super chats we need to get to. And they're all from Paulus Plain, so I'm going to try to just get through all three of them real quick. So Paulus Plain for 200 crones. Thank you for that. Part 1, Cap. The first Avenger is no blind patriot, history lover. U.S. History Facts SRCA is a pro-FDR man, is rejected for U.S. Army recruitment. I don't like bullies. I don't care where they're from. So he's talking about Captain America, not like bullies. Then we got another one for 200 crones. Thank you, Paulus Plain. Part 2, yay, the Liberal Democratic Party, pro-freedom of the earth. Nay, the Conservative Republican Party, pro-Germany, Henry Ford, Charles Lindbergh, and the OG 1940 America First Committee. And then for 100 crone, thank you, Paulus Plain. Part 3, I am pro-CAP, TFA, TWS, CW, with love from Norway to Uncle Sam America. Thank you. Vote hello, Tom. So, Paulus, thank you so much for that. We appreciate your patriotism, even though you're not part of the United States. But thank you for those super chats.
I really want to go check Norway out someday. And just that was about $50 American money, just so everybody knows. And I really appreciate that, man. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, that is very generous of you. All right, guys. So let's talk a little bit about Netflix scrapping their big Halle Berry sci-fi movie real quick. So this was kind of an interesting story. Because
wait, Halle Berry's still an actress?
Yeah. She's done a lot of direct to Netflix stuff, but
I thought she morphed into the younger version, Halle Bailey.
Could be.
Yeah, I thought she was just reborn.
Yeah. So, guys, Halle Berry made a sci-fi movie called Mothership, or The Mothership, however you pronounce it. And essentially, Netflix scrapped this movie entirely. Just they're never going to release it, simply because they were having so many post-production problems. Like they weren't able to edit this movie together. And it's kind of interesting because Halle Berry is a name actress. She's done other like kind of direct.
How was that a
movies.
post-production problem? That means you had a problem in the filming if you can't edit it together.
I don't know. According to the article, they were kind of vague on it, but according to the article, they were saying that the post-production stalled, and it was just taking too long. But
probably
this
has something to do with the strike. But
what is somebody editing going? You know what? I'm just not going to work today. I'm done.
I like it.
Not doing it
shit
today,
if it needs to
bro.
be edited. Fuck you. It could be the perfect film ever.
I'm
How
not in the
can
right
you do
headspace.
this after the Halle Berry masterpiece Moonfall?
Exactly. But guys, so this was a movie that was coming from a guy named Matthew Charman. He's a first-time director, but he was the writer of the Steven Spielberg Bridge of
I
Spies.
don't think I've ever heard
movie.
that before. A movie falling apart in post-production. What the hell is
That's
that?
new. Yeah.
Yeah.
Editors just had better stuff
Well,
to do.
unless you shoot someone in the face, that's different.
Yeah. But essentially, guys, so like this is kind of coming off the heels of a trend in Hollywood, most notably like the Batgirl movie and stuff like that, where you have finished stuff that is getting ready to kind of get released, and all of a sudden the studios are like, we don't want to release it. So I want to get your guys' take on this. Brett, do you think that Netflix probably should have kept going with this?
No, I love it. I love it when they just like take the tax write-off. I don't care. Like I just these streaming services are bogged down by just endless garbage that nobody watches. They did that list recently where it was like, of all the streaming shows on Netflix, only the top 20 actually get any views, and the rest of it just sits there and nobody watches any of it. I say be more harsh with your productions. Theoretically, it shouldn't even get this far. Theoretically, this stuff shouldn't even be greenlit in the first place if they don't think it's going to actually be beneficial to them in any way, shape, or form. I will never complain about these companies being more harsh with how they actually decide to release these projects. I want to see more of this, honestly.
All right. Now, Odin, what's your take on this? Because these aren't like cheap movies that they're shelving. These are movies that they spend tens of millions of dollars on. What's the thinking in your estimation as to the executives behind these calls?
I mean, they've never really made sense to me because, as you mentioned, whenever a movie you spend so much money on to create and then you just decide to shelve it, the only argument that I've ever heard, and I don't have as much knowledge about it, is for tax write-off reasons or purposes, right? And so my knowledge of that is rather limited, but my assumption is that you can, write off so much in taxes if you don't actually, if you, let's say you spend $100 million on something, but then it never gets released. Because it never gets released, you never get anything from it, which means you can write it off on your taxes and get refunds on that or whatever. And if you were to actually put it out, typically that also requires marketing. So you're adding on to your cost, and then you're not getting that money back. So you end up at a loss. My guess is that there must be something, like they must financially be looking at the situation saying we'll get more back if we just not do anything with it and take it as a tax write-off versus actually putting it out there, which, again, to me, not knowing enough about the tax laws is kind of just silly. But also, to me, it's like, maybe our tax system needs to be, changed a little bit, where it's like, oh, it's going to spend all this money on a project. And again, they could do whatever they want with it, but it's also like, wow, the livelihoods of these people that have spent months and months working on these projects and no one's ever going to see it. It also makes you wonder, are there ever going to be these hackers that come in and, find it? Like, what was the Roadrunner movie or whatever that, got scrapped?
Girl.
Yeah, it got very, public. At some point, if it exists, right,
Well,
someone's going to have access to it. So.
Didn't we get that North Korean movie because of something like that? They weren't going to launch it, and then it was
That was
hacked?
different. Yeah, that was different because there were threats. So, yeah, that was The Interview. And I remember I was working at a theater around that time. And so I remember when all that stuff was going on.
That's when they actually leaked
And-
emails, though.
yeah.
That's what that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, all I know, bro, is that the tax system needs to change. Surprise, surprise, the system is in business to support and extend its own life and not the life of us. It's not helping us.
And the people who are working on the movie, I mean, yeah, and they put a lot of time and effort and other things that they're not going to get back, but they got paid.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. So even if it doesn't see the light of day, it sucks in that respect. But I mean, this is not new.
Yeah.
The only thing that's new about this is that people are actually learning about these things because of the internet.
Mhm.
And we have such a broad media now to where these things used to happen all the time. Movies would get shelved.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They would get completed and shelved because 9 times out of 10 they were garbage. And then just someday either they would see the light of day on video or on cable, or if one of the younger cast happens to become famous, they'll throw it out on video.
Yeah.
But if it's for the tax thing, it cannot see the light of day.
Yeah.
And another thing about a movie leaking is you may think that it would help or whatever a situation, but most directors and people involved with it, that's the last thing they want to happen, because once it leaks, it's game over.
Mhm.
The studio is not going to put any money behind it to release it or anything, or no studio is going to pick it up once it's leaked online. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah.
The closest thing I can think of that ever worked in that respect is when they actually made the footage for Deadpool. That wasn't the movie. That was just something they did on their own and leaked it online.
Yeah, they leaked it online,
Like,
right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
That was clever.
that was like
like,
a proof of concept kind of thing, right?
Yeah,
Like
if
they
that's
wanted-
if that Acme movie were to leak online right now, then that would be like game over for that. Amazon wouldn't be interested in it. Nobody would be interested in it because everybody had already seen it.
Yeah. And I guess
Whether
also,
it was finished or not. Yeah.
and we know about this just because of like physical media. Like when we're talking about like these film files, we're talking about, oh, it's nice when we get a nice little disc with our 20 to 50 gigs of a movie size. When you're talking about the films that they're working on with the raw footage, and then they're scaling it down and eventually getting it ready for theatrical, we're talking about such massive files that even if someone behind the scenes was trying to like steal it, it would not be easy to to hide that much data.
Yeah. The versions that usually leak out are like ones that are smaller versions
Yeah.
of them in like the process of some sort of post-production work.
Yeah, it'd be tough.
But
yeah.
it may mean that they ran out of money in post-production, or they just didn't want to spend any more money on this thing in post-production. That's probably what it was, because it was just looking like a crap movie is my guess.
Yeah.
Quite possibly. All right, guys. So we had a lot to talk about today, and we talked about it. I want to thank my fantastic panel of nerds for coming on and sharing all their wonderful insights into this. So, Tom, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Me? Oh, you can find me on Midnight's Edge After Dark. When I'm not working in the background, I'm usually streaming somewhere. In fact, I'll be on Pop Culture Minefield in about, I believe, an hour or two, talking about
Which
the
is
original.
different from Pop Culture
From Pop-
Crisis, by the way.
Yes.
Yeah. There's a lot of pulp culture
Different
channels
from Pop
and-
Culture Unleashed, right? Yeah.
and Pop Culture Unleashed and all that. Kind of
It's the fourth cousin.
It's
Yes.
the one with Geary.
Once
It's the one with
removed.
Geary.
Once removed.
Geary, whatever you want to call him. Yes. And we're going to be talking about the 1933 King Kong today.
Oh, fun.
So that'll be nice. And then, of course, I'll be on Flashcast probably later. And then tomorrow night, on Sundays, we do a new show now. It's become quite popular. It's called The Shit List. And we go down through the panel, and I go through our top 5, whatever, in a category. So in this week, we're talking our top 5 Jean Reno movies. And our guest is George the Giant Slayer. He picked the topic. So
Nice.
join
Top-
us at
top
8
5
p.m. Jean Reno movies.
Okay.
The French dude.
The actor
Oh,
Jean
okay.
Reno.
Reno.
I was hearing genre, no,
Yeah.
and I'm like, what's
That's
a
what I
genre?
thought. I was
No,
like,
no,
what the
no,
hell
no.
is that?
No. Jean Reno is the actor.
No, like last week we did
The
our top 5
Professional.
movie aliens. Yeah.
Oh, okay,
That-
gotcha.
yeah.
Ah.
Yeah, so Jean Reno started as the professional, as Leon the Professional, and he was also
He's in
the-
Godzilla,
Oh,
Mission
yeah.
Impossible,
Love
stuff
that
like
actor.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, Odin, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, and I guess it would have been me to think, oh, I always thought his name was Gene Reno. Makes a lot more sense.
You
being-
uncultured swine.
I know, right? You can find me. That's why I'm so confused. You can find me over at OMB Reviews on YouTube, Odyssey, Rumble, over on Twitter/X as well. The Raven Award nominations are live, so you can find more about that at ombreviews.com, where you can find both the nominees and also the form to submit your votes. So go ahead and get involved. And let's just say Godzilla -1 got a lot of love, people. got a lot of love. It's one of the best films of the year.
It's a really good 3.5-star movie.
Oh man, well,
So,
just you wait until the Ravens come out.
All right. And Brett, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Just thank you guys for having me on today. It's always a good time. And if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. And then just check out Pop Culture Crisis. We are live 5 days a week at 3 p.m. Eastern, Monday through Friday. We're working our way very slowly we're going to get to 100,000. Actually, not that slowly. Like, we've had a lot of pickup here in the last couple of months. So it's been a lot of fun to grow and see new people join the show. So go ahead and check us out right here on YouTube.
Awesome stuff. And the man with more sex toys than Vince McMahon, Brian, any final thoughts, and where can people find more of you?
Yeah, check out my I'm putting out a new Criticless review today, but check out my last one. I rated She-Hulk, and I gotta say, you guys are all wrong on this movie. This TV show, it's really quite brilliant. And I put a little message in there for Odin because I don't like his opinions on strong feminists.
Well, you can feel free to use my ode to She-Hulk that I played earlier in the show. Then
I plan to. Okay. Yeah, but also we have a video coming out. Probably, I think gonna be this week. It's probably gonna be next Sunday, Saturday or Sunday. But it's a pretty big one. It's like a 2-hour doc. We've been working on it for the last couple months. So check that out on the main channel.
Yes, the main channel, which will not be your political commentary channel.
No.
It'll be the new channel as you dive
The Border with Brian. That's what we'll call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
The Border with Brian. Sit down as we dive into the interesting topic. No.
should be Border Watch.
Border Watch
2020 Watch with Brian. This week, I say we put up mirrors. That's better than fences. Yeah, there you go.
Dude, someone was mad at me because before the Border Crisis thing, I played like the World War Z footage. And everyone was like, really, bro? Come on, man. I'm like, it's funny. It's funny.
All right. Speaking of funny, Matt Vader 74. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, I guess I just want to say thank you to everybody for coming once again this week. Brett, it's always fun having you on the show. Thank you so much, sir.
Guys.
You can find me as always at Matt Vader 74 on the X, on the Twix, on the things, mostly on YouTube and on Twix. And I've been playing games on my personal channel here more and more lately, so go over there and sub to that at Matt Vader 74 on YouTube. And coming up this week, I believe if everything goes to plan, on Tuesday you can get some bonus Vader on Side Scrollers podcast with Stuttering Craig and Blabs. I'm going to be a special guest over there on Tuesday morning, I believe, at 9 a.m. Pacific time. So
Bonus Vader sounds like a strain of
marijuana. Yeah, Bonus Vader.
I'm
a little nervous. That's a big show. That's I'm not used to talking in front of 2,000 people. I'm used to talking in front of 150, like our awesome people that we have here. And Tuesday, I'm not sure what we're talking about. So what are we talking about on Tuesday?
Your live stream appearance is on Tuesday morning. And
but then I got to go to the studio.
We're going to be on Keanu's live stream that evening.
Oh God, I'm gonna have like a 12-hour day.
Yeah, it's going to be a long day.
Oh my God.
We're doing a recurring series about unintentionally sexist movies. So we're going to be talking about a movie that is very, very extremely sexist, but it didn't mean to be. So that's going to be like the kind of core of our live stream on Tuesday. And we're going to talk about a bunch of other stuff as well. But I want to give a huge shout out to all of our wonderful super chatters: Big Dave, Gavin Blackburn, Scotty Dub, Shane H. Wilder, Shorty Short, David Nelson, Lover of Green, Fluffy Panda, Mexican Iron Man, Platonic Guardian, and Paulus Plain. Thank you so much for your donations to the live stream. We really appreciate it. And also huge shout out to Scotty Dub, who is going to basically be returning as our top donator, the first one of 2024 on the next episode. Thank you so much for that. And we also want to give a big shout out to Eric Winberg, who gifted one Salty Nerd podcast membership for the stream. We fell 9 short of our goal, but hey, Eric, you are fantastic. We really appreciate you for doing that. And everyone out there, thank you so much. Be sure to tune in next Saturday, same salty time, same salty channel for more Salty Saturdays. And until then, stay salty, my friends.